6 o'clock, I'm calling this meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All counselors, current counselors are here, present. There is no executive session. Are there any adjustments that need to be made to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, a late word has come in that we should have one adjustment to tonight's agenda. I would think that the council would entertain moving item 14.2 up to the first order of action this evening.
We need.
I make a motion that we do as suggested.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Oh, sorry, I've been in
Aye.
church meetings lately. Raise your hand. So any other adjustments?
Not that I have.
Okay, so we can start the public hearing on 6-1, the,
Oh, are we gonna do that first?
You wanted,
oh yeah, 14.
Yeah.
All right, before this.
all right, so I'll tee it up.
Okay,
So for those in the crowd tonight and for those listening on the internet through the video later, item 14.2 is to review and vote on a new council member. We had a resignation at the last meeting, unfortunately. And so with June elections coming right up, we're in a very unique situation of having to try to fill that resigned seat just temporarily for the next few months until we get to the June 11th elections. And former town councilor Cindy Larrabee has graciously, current member of the Mechanic Falls Budget Committee, has graciously accepted an invitation from said council to perhaps entertain the idea of becoming the 5th council member until the June election. Three
Yeah,
meetings.
3 meetings.
And so the council should entertain a motion for that.
I make a motion that we set Cynthia Larrabee in the vacant seat on the council until the next vote in June.
use your mic.
I would second that graciously.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Excellent. Congratulations, Cindy.
Looks like you get to sit by me. I think you need to say that.
Sit there till the left of the-
Yeah,
That's why I thought, that's why I didn't know. I was
Yeah.
thinking that it might be after that part.
hey, we're
but-
flexible, right?
Yeah, we are pretty flexible here. I don't run that tight of ship. So that being said, we are now into the public hearings, for the warrant.
So, would you like me to, do my
Yeah,
thing?
Yeah,
Okay,
do your thing.
all right. So with us tonight, we're happy to have a quorum of the Budget Committee as part of the joint public hearing on the FY 25 budget. We have the Budget Committee along, of course, with the council. And for the last several months, staff, along with the Budget Committee and council, have been going through line by line the FY 25 budget. And this public hearing is to present our work to the world and to entertain any and all questions about the budget. Later on tonight's agenda, the council will be voting to accept the warrant, and that will be the official document on the June 11th date of vote. And what I'll do is I'll give a brief synopsis with the Budget Committee Chair's permission, along with the council chair's permission. I'll give a brief synopsis of our work and then entertain any questions folks might have. Fair enough? All right. So the FY 25 budget is an interesting animal. And I'll go through some of the highlights. And before I dig into the nitty gritty, going through different numbers of different departments, let me just say that staff, and I speaking on behalf of the Budget Committee and the Council, we're all very proud of this document. This document, all taxpayers should know, for FY 25, has 6 line item budgets that are less than the current year. That's almost unheard of. I'll say that again, 6 budgets that are less than the current year. In addition to that, we have 4 more budget articles that folks will be voting on that are exactly the same as the current year. So 10 budgets, 10 different articles folks will be voting on will either be the same or less than where we currently are. And of course, a few budgets have increased with that. And what I'll do just for posterity, I'll go through the minutia very quickly and read through the different line items and the numbers and post an increase or decrease. And then with that said, any budget committee member who would like to add anything or any council member who would like to add anything can do so at that time, and then we'll entertain questions. All right, starting at the top of the budget summary page, and I'll tick right down through. For FY 25, boards and council comes in at $13,569. That's an increase of $881. Legal services, FY 25 is $12,000. That's a decrease of $3,000. Municipal complex comes in at $128,772, a decrease of $1,052. Town clerk elections, $122,486, an increase of $8,802. Administration, $165,380, an increase of $24,344. Utilities, $160,930, a decrease of $8,945. Code enforcement planning, $68,599, an increase of $4,029. Library, $41,290, an increase of $2,765. Social services welfare, $7,500, stays the same. Assessor, $28,250, stays the same. Auditor, $10,500, that's an increase of $2,000. Contingency, $10,000, that stays the same. Debt service, $118,962, that's a decrease of $73,249. Pensions insurance, $532,273, a decrease of $17,701. Animal control, $11,225, that is a 0 increase. Fire department, $182,933, an increase of $8,367. Police department, $553,649, an increase of $42,327. Public works, $499,821, an increase of $24,484. The transfer station, $140,952, an increase of $6,494. County tax, $282,975, an increase of $12,453. And reserves capital spending, $505,000, a decrease of $49,000. So when you go through all of these numbers and you do all the math, the good news, the very good news, is that the total expenditures in this budget are down 0.4% overall. The budget net to be raised will increase $112,183. And you say to yourself, Vic, or actually you say to me, Vic, if we have a net decrease of 0.4%, how come we have an increase of $112,000 and change? The answer is very simple. In the current budget, we've applied from surplus dollars to mitigate the, to add to, I should say, the reserve and capital spending, a figure of $380,000. In the FY 25 budget, that $380,000 is reduced the only available sums that we have from surplus for FY 25 will go from 380,000 down to 178,000. And so when you take the savings of the budget overall and you take the fact that surplus to keep capital spending where it needs to be, and plus we have reduced capital spending $49,000, this entire story, I don't think could be much better. Basically, we're minding the store and we're planning for the future with our capital spending, and we're doing it reasonable, because the capital spending to mitigate from 380 down to 178, we have decreased capital spending by 49,000. So we're saying to the taxpayer, we recognize the situation, and in order to help, but we do have certain capital spending that needs to happen. And through a capital improvement plan of which the Budget Committee and the Council have reviewed, we have a course of action of which we are following. And so I'm very proud of this budget. I don't know if anybody from the Budget Committee or the Council has anything to add at this point before we entertain questions. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to you for questions.
Are there any questions? Yeah,
Do you guys know, did the town have any, damage as a result of the December flooding?
Would you do us a favor? Please come up to the mic, turn it on, tell us who you are, where you're from, and then answer your question.
My name is Dawn Hubert. I'm with FEMA. I'm a voluntary agency liaison. And my question is, did Mechanic Falls suffer any, needing any repairs on public works projects?
So later on in tonight's meeting, I'll be dealing with that issue. Suffice it to say, just for now, I'll give you the bumper sticker. Yes, we had some damage, but not very much. In the what I lovingly call FEMA hell, and trying to report all of this out pretty much live time. And as I said, I'll state a little bit more about it later.
Public assistance.
Yes.
Gotta make sure.
are there any other questions on the budget? No, I think we can close the hearing. So we're gonna have the second hearing on the Games of Chance license for the American Legion. Oh,
So when we presented this last month, you guys said, oh, let's make sure we have a public hearing. So here is the public hearing. And between Janice and I, quite frankly, we have very little information to add above and beyond last time. I don't know if you want to add anything. You want me to pass the mic over? Hold on, I'll pass the mic over.
Thing different. All I know is that it is for cribbage, cards, not tournaments. That's it.
are there any comments from any of the constituents?
So we don't know if they plan on like Texas Hold'em or.
No, it can't be that.
She
Right.
specifically said cribbage, but it falls for the state under cards. Okay.
No questions? We move on?
Guess we'll close this hearing. We'll go on to the FEMA presentation.
All right. So I would like to introduce to you, and we'll have both ladies stand up at the microphone and make sure the green button is on. From FEMA tonight, we have a presentation from Don Hubert and Chi Ugu.
So I kind of want to address everyone. So can I kind of turn?
We're totally flexible here, and you do whatever you want to do.
No,
Yeah,
it's
just be
fine.
careful when you move that. That's all. Yeah.
Perfect.
So again, my name is Dawn Hebert. I'm a voluntary agency liaison as my colleague chief. We have the same position. You heard me mention public assistance and your town is working with public assistance. We come to you from the individual list. in FEMA. So if someone sustained damage, as of the December flooding, we applied for FEMA under individual assistance. So all FEMA was a little bit different, public assistance is helping the community with roads, culvert, and some mitigation efforts to try and make those things more, sturdy for the, for the next. The number for Androscoggin, I said it right?
Yep.
Did I say it right? For Androscoggin County, but I had, our information technology people, and data people, is how many folks you have in Androscoggin that have major damage to their home. And, of course, as everyone knows, that there's 113 major damage. That's of the folks that applied for FEMA. We've had an inspector go out from FEMA and said, okay, you have major damage. 113. Now, 26 of those are in Auburn and 30 are in Lewis. But that still leaves a pretty big chunk in all of your rural communities around here. So, right now we're out to the, like code enforcement people, I don't know if I'm wrong, have the best handle on who was affected. Is that a good source of mechanic call?
Or maybe the fire chief. Or maybe even Chief Goss. Yeah.
All right, so it's because we're just having a little problem when we go in, traditionally we go into the emergency manager's office and we get things of where did damage and how many people were affected, and we're kind of getting this. I don't know, I don't think anyone needs any more help, but 113 major damage in a county the size of Androscoggin. Work on percentages, that's a pretty big percentage of folks. So what I'm gonna talk about today is, long-term recovery. Okay. So long-term recovery, let me start off by saying how it's all. So an event happened, right? Event happened. The community is all coming together. They're serving food and blankets, and you can stay on my couch until you can get back home, and everyone's really coming together. You'll see some of those national VOAD agencies. Does anyone know what VOAD means? That's voluntary organization active in disaster. Back in Hurricane Neil, the volunteer organization figured they had to do a better job because they weren't coordinated. So they formed this national VOAD. Now, not only is there a national VOAD, there's a state VOAD. Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. Unfortunately, they always use the acronym. I wish that they didn't, but so I'll repeat it a couple more times so when you see it, you can go, oh yeah, I know about that VOAD and what that is. So you need to know that long-term recovery, which is about 2 to 3 years, is the most difficult and challenging part of the disaster. Because to many, the disaster's over, right? If you weren't affected, if the town over wasn't affected, your Aunt Mary in another state, yes, sir.
Video, if you don't speak to the mic, you can't get it on video. You gotta speak right to the mic.
So the disaster's over. Folks are, you call and you talk to a relative and what do you mean? That event happened back in December. What do you mean you're not home? What do you mean you still have repairs to make on your house? Very discouraging to your survivors because they're still in the thick of it. So we gather for long-term recovery beyond the initial response and cleanup. And when we talk about the event happens, everyone comes together. You'll see some agencies from the VOAD. Southern Baptist been working here for a while. Team Rubicon was here, and they're doing all that initial cleanup. They call it mucking and gutting, some of what, and some mold remediation. But once that initial thing is over, that initial response is over, then it gets turned back to the state. And if the state can't handle it, they call the federal government and they say, look, we need more help than we get. So all those programs, they all rush in and they're helping and they're giving grants and getting people to apply and there's loans out there and USDA is working and just all kinds of different programs. Once those programs all close down, what happens? It fits right back into your community. Because long-term recovery is needed when personal resources, any federal or state grants, assistance from family members, when they have pulled all that money and it is still not enough to get the repairs, to get back to safe and sanitary conditions into their home. Really reaching a new normal for victims, they're not victims, for survivors of disaster. And then the program it's not the FEMA show. We're not giving you the FEMA show. It's not a FEMA program. It's actually a national VOAD, voluntary organization active in disaster. We're going to give you the nuts and bolts for your community and how these things stand up and how we get more folks into assist with the recovery. But it's been going on for about 40 years. We do it all, we show the same program across the nation. There's over 50 agencies that are connected with the National VOAD that come in and assist. But what it is the cooperative body of folks that are put together after a disaster. We have a faith-based civic organizations, business, community members, anyone that has an interest in assisting their community. The sole purpose is to match the need for disaster. This is a disaster related needs. It's not social services. It's not any of those things. These are just to address those needs. So who makes up this group that comes say, hey, okay, you guys stood up your long-term recovery group. We're the National VOAD, we're coming to help. So who comes? Anyone that has money, muscle, or materials to assist. From any faith-based civic organization. Like I said, there's lots of organizations that at the VOAD. So what happened at the beginning when you had Southern Baptist here and you had Team Rubicon and a couple other agencies, they left, but I met with them before they left and they said, yes, as soon as the long-term recovery group is stood up for these counties, yeah, we'll come on back. We'll come on back and we'll assist with them. Your goals of long-term recovery is to identify the family. Earlier you heard me say, can't really pinpoint who needs assistance. I got numbers, right, of people that have filed for FEMA. I can give data and numbers all day long. But who are those people specifically that are still struggling? They use all of their money towards their disaster-related needs, and they still have an unmet need. What's an unmet need? It's Smith family. They have a $6,000 roof repair. They have their estimate to pay, right? And they have a $6,000 roof repair. They got $1,000 from FEMA, $1,000 from the state, $1,000 from their family. So that still leaves $3,000 of an unmet need for that family. That's a lot of donated dollars. And in small communities, you just really don't see that much donated dollars. And all these little churches, all your churches, they've gotten, little amounts of money together. So how is it that you fill that need? You're going to call on any agency that has that money, muscle, or material. So if the Mennonites, they come to town and they say, MDS is the agency, Mennonite Disaster Services, and they say, hey, we will, they heard a case, they say, yeah, we'll drive the nail on that job. And another agency comes in and says, we'll donate the shingle. So you've taken that $3,000 unmet need and undercut it by maybe you can fully fund that without having to actually put it in action. So your You're also, each family will have, each family that has been affected that has an unmet need. We bring agencies in to assist navigators, caseworkers, whatever you want to call them, not social services, disaster casework, to try and help those families make a plan for recovery. And what steps, what resources are already at the table in your community, fill that. And we have to go outside of the community to get those things. All of those are part of it. It gives your folks a lot at the community table. If you can imagine, anyone here affected by flood, they want to. You can imagine sitting in your living room with your family, they'll have that roof to fix. You have $3,000 and you're looking at a $6,000 bill and it's raining, right? So they're packing. So they don't know actually what they're gonna do. We have been talking to your nonprofits that work in these sides, right, that's non-disaster side. And none of them are assisting any of the disaster survivors that they know of with disaster relief. So what's in it for your survivors? If you've now got a long-term recovery group up, you have a clearinghouse of what resources are available for that family to recover. And they have access to multiple agencies at one time. The family needs 5 widgets, right? And they go over to Paula. And oh yeah, I've got some widgets. 5 widgets. I'll put in 5 widgets. And Daryl says, you know, that family, I've already given 10. The next case coming up, they need another 6 widgets. So what happened here is you duplicated effort, you duplicated resources, and now you're not able to help anyone else with or whatever, whatever it is that they need. So that's the advantage. One-stop shop, right? They don't have to go to Paula, tell Paula the story of what happened, fill out Paula's application, and Paula says, "Oh, you did widgets? I don't even tell you." And then they go to Daryl, do the same thing, and you know, and then they go over to Sunny's organization. So they're going all over town. They have to tell the story, they have to fill out the application, and then find out whether or not they even qualify. You got a navigator or a case manager that's walking them through that. She already knows who's got the widgets, who's got the wadgets, who's got the labor, and she can walk them through that process. So it's a clearinghouse, one-stop shop for the survivor. And it allows your agencies to honor donor intent. I don't know if anyone sits on any board for a nonprofit, but you know, when someone donates money and they say, all right, I'm donating money to you and these are for widgets. We're gonna buy widgets, that's all we're gonna do. So again, you're honoring the donor intent. You don't have a bunch of folks going to different agencies asking for widgets when they can't use them. Your casing workers already know who's got the widgets and all of that. So it's that one-stop shop. So that is how a long-term recovery group and why they're important. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is we are going to, with the help of Paul, right, and a couple of other people, we're going to have a formation meeting, and it's going to go into a lot more of the nuts and bolts on what we need to do with formation. Keep in mind that the nonprofit organizations, the national organizations that do this kind of work, they will not come to your city without our county without a long-term. My idea is after, sorry, Paula. Speaking of Paula, you guys, it seems that in Androscoggin you have communities that naturally work together, right? They're whether it's school district or whatever they share, they work naturally together. But by the same token, there's not a lot of capacity to stand up in each city, one of these long-term recovery. So right now, and I'll take this to the committee one, I'm going to give you guys in the card. Right now, what I'm thinking is that if you had an Androscoggin long-term recovery group, And you can come from anywhere to be on that long-term recovery group. As the hub, right? And then all these little cities that work together, Paul, you said Mechanic Falls, Poland Springs, or Poland and
Minot.
they work together naturally. So they're an arm of that long-term recovery group, and they're trying to solve the problem. Or the unmet need within their town. Well, what if they can't do that? They have to go up to the unmet need, the table, the county, and that's where all of the money, the muscle, and the manpower is set. You'll find oftentimes that what your survivors need is they just need a resource. They just need someone to say, you know what, maybe I can help you get over to crisis counseling or to legal aid, or, you know, it may not even be any legal stuff. It just might be those kind of needs that happen after the disaster. And those programs are already put up here. So, anyone have any questions?
Is there a specific deadline that people have to apply for assistance or help?
From FEMA?
Yes,
Today should cut off.
okay.
So, they can do it on the phone up until 10 o'clock tonight, or midnight. They can do it on the phone, they can get on disaster-assistance.gov and register.
Isn't that though just for the first storm in December?
Yes. The folks on the coast, I'm not sure what they would just declare. So we usually run it for 30 days unless the state, request, you know, an extension, but that happened, you know, that didn't happen for this disaster. And, Oxford and Saugus are the two counties that Key and I have covered. There's valves out there doing all of it. So, yeah, I think that we hit a couple of pockets of people that haven't been applied for one reason or another. So once the long-term recovery group stands up, that's like what, who are they gonna serve? That's one of the questions that'll have to be answered. Are we going to people that didn't file? Those are kind of some of the questions that the board is going to.
That was one of my questions. How does regular Joe homeowner hear about this? How do they know they can get assistance?
From the long-term recovery group or from FEMA?
Either one.
Well, for FEMA, it's been on everything FEMA can think of. We've been on the radio, we've been out on the streets, we've been to your city offices and got the word out.
And it's been on our website.
So, and then as far as the long-term recovery group, well, guess what? There's usually a communication committee on that group. And if it's just someone that can take 10 hours and sit at home and make phone calls to the folks that you have identified as possibly needing additional assistance, that's the whole communication committee.
So, and the other thing about this long-term group is that if this had been in place during the mill fire, it would have been a very big benefit to the town. Because it would have opened up resources for helping our departments, our fire department, our police department and stuff from nonprofits while the fire was being fought.
Doesn't for a long-term recovery group say that it doesn't have to be a presidentially declared disaster.
Yeah.
I live in San Diego. I'm part of a small nonprofit. That's why I'm not working in San Diego. There's a little bit of conflict of interest there. But we started in 2003, 21 years ago, during one of the first large wildfires in California. And we used a fiscal agent originally because 501c3s take a while. But during that process, we got our 501c3. When we closed out that disaster, when we were done, we met all the needs that we could meet, we're out of money. We just take that and put it in the top drawer until the next thing. So, for instance, in San Diego, their long-term recovery group from floods that happened in December, we've already stood it up. It's already got money from the San Diego Foundation, and they're sailing because they were already, to Paula's point, they were ready to work. So the goal is to try and keep these folks somewhat you know, for our little own project, we have to meet once a year, right? They're 501c3, and that usually involves lunch. We all, because it's just a bunch of housewives, right? But we go when we meet, and we talk a little bit about business, and we have fulfilled our deal for the project. So the next thing that we're gonna do that formation meeting, I'll just warn you guys, we are looking for a chair, a co-chair, secretary, and treasurer, and a fiscal agent to get this thing started. And, we will send out an email, well, through Paula, probably, she seems to have everyone's information. And anyone else that wants to be involved, to call them into this formation meeting, and go, yeah, this is something that I'm interested in. I can get 5 hours a week. Or I can be the board chair. I've got 20 hours a week. We're not looking for professional board members. You don't have to be professional board members. It's not the FEMA show, remember? But what I do have is any governing documents that you need. Whenever I stand up a long-term recovery group, I put those in my computer in my little toolbox, so that when XYZ is ready to do their document, I can send it. They can either cut and paste their name in and out of the documents, or they can create their own. It's your guy, it's your community show.
And we can decide, the group decides what they're going to help with or not. In some communities, they have apartment buildings that burn down and they go in and they help in those situations. Was it Mexico, the downtown that burned up last year up north, if that had been in effect, they could have had that help. The businesses could have gotten that help, and the people that lived in the apartments above those businesses that lost their buildings could have had that help.
I don't want to take a lot more of your time, but I do want to ask, is there anyone that says, that might be interesting, I'll come to the next meeting, so that we can make sure that you get the information? Do you remember anyone? All right, we're gonna get one anyway. You can kind of think about it. I have business cards. Anyone would like a business card, if you want to call and ask any questions?
Thank you.
The other thing, I gave you one. Would you like to? I didn't put you. Thank you. Can I talk to you earlier today? Another Dennis, good to see your face. Okay, so I'll come back to you. I also have a brochure on volunteer agency liaison. We are your Val PAL. That's what, the acronym. You'll hear it. Oh yeah, the Val King. Volunteer agency. You like the brochure? This will tell you a little bit about what we do. What we do and how we do it. And some agencies that we work with, please keep in mind, it's not the FEMA show, that it is a community.
And that's the other thing that was very, Roseanne, the woman that initially contacted me, made sure that I was very, very understanding of FEMA is here to help you initially set up, but it's your community or your community's program. And whether you fail or succeed is based on you. Once FEMA comes in and helps you set up the foundation, they basically pull out. And the only thing they really have any part in is helping you to hook with national BOAV to get the money, the muscle, and the manpower if you can't have it locally.
So this committee that they're looking for is for Andrew Stock.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is that Roseanne, because of how spread out we are as a county, they're looking at the potential of more than just one, because they understand we're a very large county, we're a very rural county, and we're very spread out. And that one in the middle of Lewiston, Auburn is not going to do any good for Rumford or Turner, those places. So
Meeting next tomorrow, after tomorrow morning with, a church in Bethel.
Yep.
Because as I looked at the map, you know, being that I'm not from around here, but as I looked at the map, it was like the most central place. So that's what we would do in Androscoggin as well, is kind of look at the map and see, you know, what churches like are right in the middle, so that it would be convenient for anyone who wants to participate. Then you guys can figure it out if you want to meet someplace else or wherever. I just couldn't get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Rumford, Mexico have actually started theirs up that way.
Well, actually, no, they don't.
Ken did, yeah.
That is just because that's Envision Rumford. And they are not a disaster relief organization. They just kind of stepped up, but they're not.
Are they?
Yeah. So my hope is to draw them back in after a few weeks, right, of rest, that they already kind of know what's going on, but we'll see, right? I mean, I tell people that I train and everything, you know, you're not the only one that can run the show. I'm not the only one that can run the show. We do the same thing everywhere we go. It's the same program. And the kids are entirely up to me. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You want to hit the green button? There you go. Thank you.
Could you swing that back around, please? Chi,
Yes.
can I get one of your cards before you leave? Thank you, Mr. Waltham.
I think this is a good time. The budget committee can either stay or go at this point. Thank you for your service and helping out. And Cindy,
You can jump over,
uh,
or you can stay over there if you want.
I guess before you sit down, Cindy, when you stand up, why don't we do the swearing in and get you all 10-4 here.
I, Cynthia Larrabee, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and of the state of Maine, as long as I shall remain a citizen thereof, so help me God. I swear that I will perform all duties incumbent upon me according to the Constitution and laws of the state of Maine as town council member of the town of Mechanic Falls until another is chosen and sworn in my stead. So help me God. Okay.
You shouldn't have read that last part. You should have said for the next 3 meetings. Yeah.
We're going to tell her that in June.
So now we know how to keep her. I'm just teasing.
I'll go over. I've got to be signed.
Thank you very much.
Well, just that, you've got to have a full council.
It don't work without.
I know.
Been there, done that.
You can throw me under the bus.
I'll-
This is, no, well, it doesn't have 25 signatures, so
Well, if there's people in the audience want to.
some people in the audience have, but I was gonna hit up at least 1 or 2 other
Alright.
before they leave. All right, so I would say the public hearings are over. And at this point, we're at 7.1 with the American Legion Game of Chance and License. Consideration, discussion.
So I think we're to that magic moment of someone making a motion
I
to
think
move
so.
forward.
Make a motion that we accept the American Legion's request for games of chance, specifically to the cribbage games that they're proposing to do under the card game auspices.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Passed.
And so let's do,
Yep.
And
because you got a lot of signing tonight, Cindy, I apologize to you. I got a lot of important documents here that aren't going to have your name on them. They'll have the other four, but certainly I think you can participate in the
It's
voting
legal
of it,
now.
and they'll sign off. Okay. All right. So you got the,
Was,
So coming
is there
to
a
you-
blank place for her to sign or not?
well, there's a lot of signing going
Yeah, no,
on
I
tonight.
understand.
And so I got things queued up
Yeah,
and
no, I
official
understand.
documents and
So there will be no physical evidence of your crimination tonight.
right. Right.
Exactly, your signatures. on
Okay,
it.
so while we're signing, we can still
Yep.
continue on with business. So we could accept the motion for the grant resolution and letter for the water department.
So I'll tee
wanna
this
tee it
up
up?
for the CPF grant. I'll explain
Yeah.
a little bit about what it is. And then you guys should entertain a motion as to whether or not to do it.
Right.
So Jake came to me I don't know, about a month ago or so, along with a representative from Jared Golden's office. The water department would like to try to apply for a grant under the CPF grant program to help with some work in the town of Mechanic Falls. And the letter that I'd like for you to consider signing, I'll just read part of it. Actually, why don't I just take a minute to read the whole thing so everybody knows what's going on? So Congressman Golden, the Mechanic Falls Town Council has voted, assuming it the affirmative, has voted to enthusiastically support both the resolution and this official support letter, the federal community project funding grant application request for our Mechanic Falls Water Department. The monies from this CPF request would greatly benefit the town by replacing a 130-year-old water main on Libby Road. This replacement upgrade would not only eliminate the use of cast iron piping with lead joints, the project would also be environmentally friendly by rerouting the water main out of a swamp and floodplain. In addition, the grant funding would help citizen water rate payers by helping to keep their water rates down. This main is our transmission line that we pump water through from our pumping station to fill the reservoir at the top of Standpipe Road. When the pump is not running, the town is then fed through this main by gravity. The reservoir holds almost 500,000 gallons of water when full, which depending upon the time of year is about 2 to 3 days worth of storage. We have 2 other storage tanks, but they are much smaller, together only holding approximately 90,000 gallons of water when full. So as you can see, should this main break, we would have an extremely limited amount of time to make the repairs before the towns of both Mechanic Falls and Poland would be out of water. The Mechanic Falls Town Council encourages you, Congress, and everyone else involved to approve the CPF grant request for this much-needed water main replacement project. And then your signatures. So the only other information that I can add to this is contextual. So this would be part of 2024 funding request. The U.S. Congress is still finalizing the 2023 funding requests. So this, I guess, I don't know if I mean the pun or not, but this would probably sit in the pipeline until the 2023 funding requests have been finalized one way or the other, and then they'll be accepting 2024 requests. So this is us trying to tee up the situation for Jared Golden and his folks. So that way, when they are starting to accept 24 requests, we have all the information into them. So what you have here tonight is a town resolution. These are the different items that are suggested by Golden's office. A town resolution, be it resolved, the town council of Mechanic Falls offers our enthusiastic support of the community project funding grant request by the Mechanic Falls Water Department. And then your signatures. And then the page that I read, and I also included as town manager, a support letter as well. So at this point, if you're interested in supporting this water department request, I would have you entertain a motion and then assuming the affirmative, assign the paperwork.
I make a motion that we put forth the resolution of being enthusiastically supportive of this project and the letter that will be sent to Congressman Golden's office on our behalf to get this funding.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Apologies.
I'm not upset. I'm glad you know.
It just makes you less liable, right? So 7.3, the 2025, I assume we're gonna start getting that paperwork. We already do. The 2024 hazard mitigation resolution. for
So,
consideration.
the, Oxford, the Androscoggin County Emergency Management, folks, along with all the other counties in the state, once every 5 years, have to put together the next 5-year hazard mitigation plan for not only the state and all the counties, but we have to for the town as well. This is homework that's been going on for close to a year now. Well, maybe a year and a half or so, actually. And so, through a lot of homework, the town of Mechanic Falls has an updated plan, which will get kicked back to us on the back end of them actually submitting all of their paperwork as Androscoggin County. They'll submit it to the state will submit it to the feds. So in order for all of this to take place and for us all to do our parts, I need you tonight to vote to accept the resolution and to sign and date the resolution. And again, for posterity, I'll quickly read the resolution. Androscoggin County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Resolution of Adoption 2024. Whereas natural and man-made disasters may occur at any time, we recognize that to lessen the impacts of these disasters, we will save resources, property, and lives in Androscoggin County. And whereas the creation of a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan is necessary for the development of a risk assessment and effective mitigation strategy. And whereas the 2 cities, 12 towns of Androscoggin County, as well as Androscoggin County, are committed to the mitigation goals and measures as presented in this plan. Therefore, the Androscoggin County Commissioners or the Board of Selectmen or City Councilors in the 14 municipalities hereby adopt the Androscoggin County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan 2024 update. I gave you, as a part of the packet, I gave you the official document from Androscoggin County. And again, on the back end of this, they'll give us our particular update we'll keep for the next 5 years for our posterity. So assuming all good things, I'll have you entertain a motion to accept the resolution and to sign it.
I make a motion that we accept the resolution for the Androscoggin Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan adoption for 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Passed unanimous. So we've already had our appointment and we have no resignations, so we need to accept the minutes of the previous meeting, correct? And Cindy will have to reclude.
Yes, Cindy will have to recuse herself, right?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from the last council meeting dated March 4th, 2024 as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Raise your hand.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Department monthly reports. Can't make motions. Waiting on a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the department monthly reports as submitted.
We have a second?
I second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Public comments. If you have a comment, come up, state your name.
Gordon Road. I just want to share a letter that the superintendent wrote. It's sort of a follow-up on what we talked about last time he was here and the community letter that we sent out about mid-March. And you know, from the discussion that I had when I've been here and what Superintendent Saunders did was, it, we talked a lot about the heating and ventilation needs in our elementary schools. So at our last board meeting, we did approve what we call a master lease purchase agreement, which provides the heating and ventilation systems to all three of our elementary schools. And just a little bit of information about what a master lease is. It's for energy projects only. And one of the things that we liked about it was it does allow us to do it in phases, that we'd only pay interest on the amount that is used, which last time we looked at it, that was a concern from the community, and that we have to take out a chunk of money and not use it all at once, because there's three big projects and they would be done over a period of a year. So this would allow us just to take out what we need, and the interest rate would be for just that project. And we don't have to take any more than what we need, and we don't have to take the full rate amount that's requested, which is a positive in our view, in that it would allow us to continue to look at other ways to fund it. So we would continue to look for grants. We continue to look for both state and federal money to do that. So hopefully we wouldn't have to take that. And this will have very little impact on our next year's budget, because we wouldn't be starting, the first project we do would be in Minot, and we're not even able to do it this summer. Big project in person. Signing contracts for the season next year. We're still looking at this down the road, so the impact on the upcoming budget is either none or very minimal.
May I ask a question? You folks received ARPA money. Is any of the ARPA money being utilized for any of this?
Assuming that's what we call our ESSER fund. We have used some money for building, not for this, and our money runs out this year and next year. So it we're all used for, and you can go to our website and we'll give you a list of all the things that we use. But it wasn't for these projects. And also this year we did put in, hoping that we could get what they call a revolving renovation fund to cover the cost of this project. We didn't get any of those for heating and ventilation. We did get a small one for some ADA projects. And those were the funds from revolving renovation that were basically a grant for our subsidy amount, and then we paid the other percentage. So the state would pay almost 62%, and we paid 38%. So this we do have to take out as a bond. So this we'll have to, when we have our district budget meeting, there'll have to be a hearing around that, and then we will have to take that out as a bond and vote on our rate of budget, that would be part. So we're hoping that people don't confuse that with our heating and ventilation issues that. All of the information about this is on the website. Certainly, if you have any questions, superintendent has been going out to public meetings, the PTOs, and answering any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Any other comments? Nothing on, do we have anybody online? If not, then we'll move on. Are there any council comments? Or comments from the council?
Thank you, Ms. Larrabee. We greatly appreciate it. And people out there in Zoom land, get active in your community. Your community needs you.
Anyone else? If not, it looks like Vic's up.
Right, excuse me. Oh, all right. So before I get into my TM updates, just piggybacking off of what Paula stated. So as a friendly reminder to everybody in the town of Mechanic Falls that may be thinking about running for town council, we currently, as of June 11th election, we have 2 open seats on the council. We only have 1 set of papers that have been taken out. And so if anybody has an interest, please see the town clerk. Her name is Janice Ferry, sitting right next to me, in case you didn't know. And Janice will be more than happy to get you some papers. And the caveat is you need to return them with the signatures by Friday, April 12th at 11:30. And Janice would even appreciate sometime earlier in the morning as she's having her second mug of coffee. That would help her. But yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice if somebody would step up. All right, moving on. Deputy Town Clerk update. Yay! We have a new Deputy Town Clerk. She started today. Her name is Barbara Morton. And when you're into the town office, please take a moment and to say hi and to welcome her. And we're very happy to have Barbara aboard. Main Power Options Constellation contract for CMP for the town and for the water department. You folks gave me at the last meeting permission to go ahead and to, at my desire, go ahead and lock us in. So I did that since last we spoke. All the other contracts for the town are locked in at 0.0985 cents per kilowatt hour through November 2027. I locked in these 2 contracts. These are the bigger accounts for the town. I locked them in at 0.958. So a smidge lower than the other contracts, and they are locked in until November of 27. So hopefully, I don't know which way you want to look at it. Hopefully, I guess it would be good if kilowatt hour rates went down to 4 cents an hour, but I don't know how likely that is, but at least we're protected against any upside being locked in as we are. So hopefully that's a good thing. FEMA. So the fine folks were here from a different section of FEMA earlier tonight. I'll give you an update. I at this table last Wednesday, had a meeting with several FEMA folks and a whole bunch more on the phone from the state of Maine and environmental protection and all sorts of stuff. If you remember the December storm event, the town of Mechanic Falls fared quite well overall. We had an issue with a culvert and water on Brown Road, excuse me. And we had some down trees and we had some payroll to service all of those issues between the fire guys and public works. So, and we had a downed light pole lamp post in the parking lot over at 22. And I am, as I stated earlier, literally in FEMA hell, trying to put together all the parts and pieces to see if we can get reimbursed. The problem is that how they do it, they divide things out by various categories. Like the Brown Road will be separate from debris, and the custom lamp post will be separate, still in a different category. And they have a $3,900 minimum entry limit in order to even be considered to get any FEMA reimbursement. And so I have payroll reports, I have some expense reports. I'm in the process of reaching out to Scott and to Fred and to a couple of vendors and everybody else to figure out where we're at. My best guess at this point is we'll probably get a taste of something coming back to us on the general debris emergency style situation, because that's where a majority of the payroll happened. There is a chance, depending on how the dice fall, there is a chance of being reimbursed a little bit on Brown Road. All of that's still to come, and it will be months of doing this before I have any definitive thing to report to you. And interestingly enough, whatever is awarded to the town of Mechanic Falls does not come directly to the town of Mechanic Falls. It goes to the state, and that the state puts it through their filters. And if they so decree, then they give the monies to the town of Mechanic Falls. So stay tuned. Fix 108 update. So the Fix 108 committee met recently. And the following projects are very much underway. The foyer flooring, working with the company today, we have established Friday, April 12th, Monday, April 15th, and if need be, Tuesday, the 16th, as dates of flooring installation. Steve, you being here saves me an email and phone call to you. So this is going to impact your world. So do know, and if something changes, I'll let you know. And right now I'm in the minutia of trying to figure out, because I'm going to be on vacation during that period of time. And Monday is Patriots Day. And so staff won't be here. That's why they're doing it over this period of time. But I need to make sure that they can access the building and all that happy stuff. So I'm solving those issues, but barring any curveballs, the flooring will be done in a few weeks.
Is there any order in which they're doing it?
So because we had kind of a loose thing set up, but because they're taking that Friday, the acid point is that we're here 7:30 to 11:30 on Friday, right? So, to answer your question, I need one more conversation with him to update it, but obviously we're going to try to mitigate it for the world. And if you can't access the stairs, hopefully we'll have the elevator available for folks to access. So we're just going to ask for everyone's patience during this period of time, but we are trying to do it in the least impactful way for citizens and staff. Another project, the LED light project is due to begin any day now. And hopefully by the time we meet next, it will be completed. Stay tuned. And thirdly, we have the famed PD window issue project, of which I've got a revised quote from the first contractor today. And I had another contractor, Lee, showed up, and I took him around last week. And interestingly enough, he has a different thought process. He doesn't think it's an issue from above. He thinks it may be an issue from below. And what we call sagging is actually a heave on one end. And as he explains it all, it kind of makes sense. So I don't know. So I will obviously have communication with the Fix 108 committee, and before any final consideration is done, of course, the council will have to vote on it in all probability because of pricing.
Did
So
he?
update, I worked with Lee on Friday and I talked to him. about
You talked to Lee on
it.
Friday?
Yeah, so I got his perspective.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I come to the meeting,
So why does he think it's a heave vice a sagging?
the siding is covered up with asphalt. The asphalt, when it got asphalted, it was over the siding. I haven't looked at it. I was gonna do it tonight when I looked and I forgot. I was gonna look on my way in. So
Yeah, so on this side of the building, if you, I don't know which side.
this,
Yeah, this side of the building, behind where Lisa and Jeff park, if you look down at the vinyl siding, it actually goes below ground level and it goes below the asphalt. And so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to think and understand. And Lisa or Jeff or somebody said at one point there was an issue one year in the gymnasium with water coming from the walls.
There was, because we had to close it down.
Yeah, so it makes sense. So if you were to look out there, you would see that there's a gap between the asphalt and where the siding goes below ground level. And so that could be either part of the issue, a separate issue, or both contractors may be right, that it's a heave and we still have some rot from above. And Lee, the second contractor, won't know that until he really, if he's the chosen one or whomever it is, won't know that until they really start to take out those windows and they can see the gap above from the roof line down to where those windows are.
So what's the remedy if it is the asphalt affecting things?
So stay tuned. I mean, first we need a better assessment than what we have. Lee is supposed to come back and actually tear part of it out outside and take a look at it. And I have not informed Chris about any of this, because it's very hot. I just got this news recently. So,
Lee's not saying that it necessarily is. It was a concern of his because he saw it and he followed the signs of sagging all the way down, is what he told me. And I was gonna look at it on my way in and I forgot.
Well, the reason I'm asking my question, if it is sagging vice the opposite, what they were thinking above, does that mean that everything underneath that is affected and is going to need
Yes.
repair?
could be.
Could be,
It could be a myriad of things at this point. The bottom line is this,
could be
is that
it's
based
very
on
old
the
and-
based on the report from the structural engineer, it's a big concern of the structural engineers that we fix this. So as long as one of them, both of them, whatever, have a remedy to the situation, I'll bring, based on input from the Fix 108 committee, I'll bring that to the council for a final vote and then action. But I'm just giving you an update for tonight, okay? All right, moving on. So as a part of your packet, Paula had suggested a few meetings ago at this point that we, because the water department is looking to having some trees removed on a lot that they have. Paula suggested that we take a look at the 75 acres that we have off of Lane Road and see if we might be able to gain some monies from foresting and harvesting that lot. So working with Greg Siemens, who happens to be the town's forester, and working with the water department, I had him go over and take a look at the Lane Road property. There's a report in total there. And so for tonight, I'm not looking for any action tonight. I'm just looking to give it to you as information. I would really like you all to take a look at it over the next few weeks here. And I'll have it on your agenda for discussion and consideration at the May meeting to see how you want to proceed. At the end of his report, he lists several recommendations. I have put an email into him asking him that if the council wanted to continue with him doing some of these recommendations, how much would he charge us? So I'm info gathering on that. But his report, I think you will find quite extensive. the bad news is that before the town took possession of that property a few years ago, it was harvested heavily, as his report lays out. So
Clear cut.
for the time being, it's kind of like a pretty much a wait and see, let life take its course and let things get happy out there. But he does have some recommendations which would help that.
I read the report and my question is, should we invite the ATV and the snowmobile clubs to come to the next meeting, as well as the forester, to hear what he has to say, since part of it is directed, his suggestions are directed at those clubs making some modifications and or repairs to things.
So if I may suggest, I would do that probably. So if I have it on your agenda for next meeting, because I don't know what the council's going to say, you guys need to discuss it. So once you discuss it, you come up with a course of action. If you want to follow his list of recommendations, then I would probably, if you want, invite those folks into the June meeting. So I think we need to, my best counsel is, let's put the cart and the horse in the right situation here and not jump too much too soon.
Well, what I was thinking was, if we invite him here next month to talk to the council, that if we also invited the clubs, they could hear what he was saying. And if they had any questions about why he was recommending certain things, they.
I don't intend on having Greg here.
Oh, I thought you said he said.
No,
he
I'm just
could
going to
come
have
to
it. This is his report. And so you have his report. And so I'd like you guys to look it over, and then it will be on your May agenda for you guys to discuss how you would like to proceed. Because he's pretty much laid it out, and he's a very busy guy. If you really wanted me to ask him to show up, I'd ask him, but pretty much he spells it out in this report. I think it's quite detailed, actually. And so I think it's just something for the council to consider how it wishes to proceed, because on one thing, you could just say, okay, we accept the report. It just sits there. Or you could take any or all of his recommendations at heart. As far as the clubs are concerned, again, it's the council's wish. My only thing is, I don't know. I'd rather be in a situation to talk to the ATV clubs and the snowmobile clubs about how it is that they can help after you guys decided how you want to proceed. That's my only point. But you guys, as the council, obviously, I mean, it's your world. You do what you want.
I'd prefer to wait a month, and I haven't read through all the reports.
All right.
I mean,
And again,
glanced at it, but I haven't read through it.
and so for tonight, this is just my TM report to you guys, just reporting out the info. And with that said, unless there's any further questions on that, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
I don't know. Guess we're at old business. Kind of comes back to you.
So the gift that keeps giving. So, I don't know what you guys want to do. Again, my reason for bringing up your, council rules of order for possible review is genuine in heart. And, it's been in front of you for quite a while now. So, and quite frankly, honestly, if you just want to table it indefinitely, that's fine with me. If you want to say thanks, but no thanks, we don't have an interest in changing it at all, that's fine with me. If you want to do anything in between, that's fine. But at this point, it truly is out of my hands and it really is into your hands.
I'll say it again. I don't think we should mess with something that doesn't appear to be broken. And Vic and I have had a discussion about it. I understand some of his concerns, like the agenda, but even if we were to change it and do something, the agenda still can change. Modifications can still be made. And not giving the people their time to speak on a topic when a topic comes up, I don't think is right and fair. And there was a workshop held here in February of 2019, where MMA came in. And they said some towns do that, some towns don't. If it was working for us, we should allow it to continue. So that's why Mr. Bennett, Mr. Emery, I trust the gentlemen and women that created that document. It was modified only 2 years ago. I don't think it should be changed. That's my opinion. And I'm only one of 5.
Anybody else have a comment they'd like to make? Better do it here than out in the parking lot. The meeting after the meeting. Looks like it's dead right now, unless somebody wants to make a motion.
I make a motion that we leave the council rule of orders as they're currently written.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
All right. New business.
FY25 warrant.
Here we go.
Here we go. So it's a part of your packet. It's been vetted by me and Lisa. All the numbers are correct. And so this is the all-important meeting for the council to vote the warrant out. So that way the rest of the happy world can march forward. And we can do our due diligence and be legal schmiegel with a number of days, blah, 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 blah. So unless somebody wants to review the warrant in detail, it is a part of your packet. And so I would have you entertain a motion.
Yeah, and we also went over it in the public hearing. So,
Motion, we accept the FY25 warrant as we've discussed it many, many times. And we reviewed it, each and every item. And
Hey, Ray, I hate to do this to you, but for the world,
make a motion that we accept the 25 warrant that's presented as written due to the fact that council and budget committee has reviewed each and every item, line item by line item.
I don't seem to have it.
been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
thank you.
Pass. That was a big one right there. But
Yeah, and more ciggies. Ray,
the good news is we can cross off 14 too, because we've already done it. All right, we're moving right along now. Now we are at 14.3, electing a vice chair.
I make a motion that Stanley Morgan be our vice chair.
First of all, we accepted it if you're voted on, because he does need to accept it, right?
All money.
Yeah. we'll get this stuff. I was rolling in the dough last couple of years, let me tell you. I don't know, is there?
no,
Do I,
no,
sorry,
no.
I
Only,
don't know, I just hand my check to my wife, I don't know. What do I-
only the chair gets a little extra goose.
Oh, see, well, I'll make sure I'm gone next couple meetings.
I would second that
All right,
contingent
we have
upon
a-
his acceptance.
Sorry,
Sure.
we're doing a lot of discussing in that order. First, it's been motioned that
Ray
Stanley
seconded.
I second. that,
Morgan,
Contingent upon his.
Sonny
acceptance.
Morgan,
Sure.
contingent, all right. Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those
We
in
need-
favor, raise
We need
your
to
hand.
hear, we need to hear whether he's going to accept it.
He did. He
Yeah, he
mumbled
said
it to
what?
me.
Yes, yes.
So
Yes.
all those in favor, raise your hand
Yes.
again. Sorry. So one abstained. But it passed. Welcome, Vice Chair. Thanks.
Now you can't miss a meeting.
Yes, you can.
And I think we all know the rules of the road here, but just to be clear for the home gamers, that this appointment is good until the new organizational meeting, which begins the new year,
Listen.
which will be held in the second half of June.
I work my magic. The 2 month magic works. All right, 14-4.
Plow truck bids. So Scott and the boys put together a list of specs that they wanted for the new plow truck. And we went out to bid. We got a couple of bids on the chassis and actually 2 bids on equipment. And so the boys took all of the bids back and they went through it all with a fine tooth comb. And what's a part of your packet here tonight, and I'd like for you to vote on, is our 2 separate bids. One is for the plow truck cab chassis, and the other is a separate bid for the plow truck equipment. And there's a little slide rule math here that I need to go through with you. So that way, assuming you want to take a vote, everybody is on the same page as to how all of this will unfold. So when we put out the bids, we put in a stipulation pending town meeting budget vote. And I also gave you a general ledger sheet that has, and I circled, the highway equipment fund currently has 147,000 and change in it. And so when we got the bids, because we didn't know what we were going to get back for bids, so we had that caveat. So after Scott and the boys went through this, and then Scott, Chris, and I had a follow-up meeting, this is how we propose to do this. So for tonight, the plow truck cab and chassis, O'Connor's is the preferred bid and coming in at $75,679. They did include a $10,200 trade-in, but the boys feel that we can get way more than that. So we'll keep the current vehicle and either use it as a backup or set it on the front lawn with a price tag of 30,000 or something. So basically, this particular bid will not include a trade-in in final analysis. And so assuming you vote to accept the O'Connor bid on the truck chassis, it would be in the amount of $75,679. And with the line item holding 147,000, we would do this deal as soon as possible. And get the ball rolling for the truck to show up. And then pending, and you can vote tonight pending town meeting approval, because these figures are not the figures themselves, but there is a pocket of money that's in the capital reserve account for FY25, which would more than cover the $96,865 bid for the plow truck equipment. And so we would go ahead and purchase the truck and hold off on the equipment. Can't get the equipment without the truck anyways, ain't going to do you any good. And hopefully sometime later in 2024, knock on wood, we actually get the truck physically. And then hopefully the voters in Mechanic Falls vote to approve the budget, assuming we have the budget. And then with tonight's vote, we'll activate the plow truck equipment and get that going so we can get it in here as soon as possible. So what I'd like for you to do tonight in a perfect world is to approve both bids, one with the truck and chassis, which will just come from that line item from the capital reserve account, and then to approve a separate bid of the $96,865 for the plowing equipment pending town meeting approval or town vote approval.
Now, couple of questions.
Sure.
Were these the only bids that
No.
came in? Were these the best bids?
These
that
are the
boys
best
We're
bids.
happy
I'm a
with.
firm believer in letting the people that do the work pick the equipment that they need to have.
Okay, so.
Just like
not
when
the
Jeff
boys-
brings us a cruiser. And so you know, before, this is how we did the bucket loader. This is how we did another plow truck. We get the bids, they take it, they huddle and they compare all the different specs and everything. And then they say, Vic, this is what we want. And so then I bring it to you guys. So it's been vetted to that degree.
Okay, now the $96,000 on the equipment, is that a guaranteed price or did they
Yes.
put a lovely little thing in there
It's a
that
guaranteed
says?
price because when we went out to bid, it said, you know, you would honor the bid pending town meeting vote.
Okay,
So if the town votes this down, then, I mean, if we're gonna have a plow truck, we gotta have plow truck equipment. We'll figure another way, right? But assuming all good things, reasonable people, reasonable minds, then if you take the 75 and you minus from the 147, we're not gonna have enough to do both straight up. And so we'll use the kitty of money here plus the replenished monies in FY 25 to actually pull the trigger on the 96. But instead of waiting until that moment in time, it's better if you guys vote with the.
oh, I
caveat.
understand that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some fine print like some of these contractors are doing now that says if you don't act on this in X amount of days, there's a chance of, you know.
And that's why in the bid
inflation
packet
putting it up.
itself, we had this. And I
Okay.
had it in 2 or 3 places in the bid packet.
Okay,
And everybody that put in the bid sat right at this table with me. And we all went through everything together and everybody is totally cool and understanding and knows what the score is.
Okay.
So I'm confident that we're good.
So, yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Single axle or double axle?
I'm not going to be able to. What I can do is if you want, I brought the packets, you can have at it, but I'm not the guy,
So I just did the quick math,
right?
because you know me in numbers.
Sure.
So you're saying the 147, sorry, my glasses, 147, 5, 21, 28 that we have in the budget. Right,
We have in the bank.
that we have in the bank for that. That, none of that, we would be using all of that, and so.
Nope.
Balance.
Nope.
Well, wait a minute. For both of them,
Well, it depends on how you want to slice it. Initially, you're going to be using 75, 679, and the
Right.
rest just sits there until after
until
June
after
11th.
June 11th, then we'll get a little more in the kitty.
Right.
If I did my numbers right, we need another $24,023.
I haven't done the math
I
that
did- I
way,
just
but
did.
sure.
So we have enough in the capital fund to go into that, but it'll be more than 24,000. So at that point, we'll have enough in the kitty to buy this.
Yeah. And so
And
if,
so what we're gonna do, so we're going to approve both of these, but the second one will be pending the vote.
right,
So when the motion is made, we need to buy the first one. The second one will be pending the vote.
right. And I'd like it as
Just
2
wanted everything
separate
clear.
motions, right?
if the guys are correct, when you put that out and you sell it for $30,000, it'll be covered anyway.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well,
Right.
or
You
if
know,
they
so,
keep
but it just makes sense to do it in this fashion.
My question is that if we do sell it for $30,000, does that go back into their municipal, their highway?
So
fund?
under normal circumstances, it would not. Again, unless you guys, when you voted to accept those monies, stitched it specifically to that, then yes. I try to always caution you about doing that because if you do, the more you do that, the more complicated you make it accounting wise. You just make it way more complicated than if you just say, if we sold it for 30,000, it's like when we sold 22 Pleasant Street, we had a little extra coin left over. It just went into a revenue line item and it's a part of this year's revenues. Okay. And in the end, all of that filters down to the town's piggy bank and then gets either used for the 90-day cash flow set aside for all of our expenses. including the school payment, that the auditors want us to have set aside, and that anything above that 90 days is the surplus. And again, we then take those surplus dollars and replenish them back into capital. So it's just a different process without, and it gets it pretty much there, but it doesn't pigeonhole it specifically to a specific thing, because you may have a higher need of that $30,000 someplace else. So it allows a lot more flexibility in planning and doing than if you stitch every extra money to any particular thing, and that's all that you can use that money for.
Which I know where you're coming from. That $30,000 is not pocket change, right? Like, it's coming out of their fund. It should, like, in my mind, it should go back in their fund. Only because it's their piece of equipment. We're trading things off. Like, I do understand that it makes things more difficult, and I'm not saying that we vote that way, but I'm just saying. And well, I think we would have to, that would be when we accept the monies anyways.
Right.
Right? It's not, we can't do anything now about it. But the reality is, it's not, I certainly would not want to create a nightmare for Lisa over $30, but for $30,000, I might add a little bit of extra work for it.
Well, just know that the more that you do
No, I
that,
understand.
you're limiting, you're not only making
Oh, I
Lisa's
know.
life complicated, but you're limiting your future choices.
Yeah, I understand.
So
That-
what
that would
you're,
be
And
the
it's all the
purpose of
town's
doing it.
money. I mean, it's all the
Well,
town's
except-
money.
Except what you're saying, if you follow the line of what you're saying is they're giving up $30,000 from their budget. And then it goes into the big kitty, and then they'll get 5% of the big kitty. So like they're giving up $30,000 for 5% of it coming back. So like they're losing a big chunk of that money.
So
What I'm
for me, it's like, we'll take Janice's budget. So if Janice
I'm
operational
gonna take
budget,
your budget.
if her budget comes in $10,000 under budget,
Right.
then what you're saying is that that $10,000 should go back to her budget for
If-
the next fiscal year.
If she sold
that
a
would
piece
be-
of equipment that she was using for $10,000, that would be a little bit different.
Well, again, so you guys do this how you want to do. I
So-
just caution you.
so we don't have to worry about that right now
Right.
Right.
because we
We're
haven't
getting
sold
bogged
that
down
piece
in
of property.
something
But when it gets brought to us, we as a council can choose
You can,
to specifically divert that money
you can.
into Public Works budget, since it came out of Public Works to begin with.
And if you vote that way, we will obviously honor that and
Okay.
make that so.
But it doesn't have to be decided.
For my 2 cents.
I make a
Bite my
motion-
tongue here. I would rather keep the truck and
Well-
have an extra horse in the stable.
Well, and I
For-
would feel that that's probably their
Because
feeling.
we won't recapture the value that it
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
for this town to have an extra plow truck.
And I think, again, until somebody puts money on the table, that's exactly what will happen.
I make a motion that we accept the bid from O'Connor's Motor Company in the amount of $75,679 for a plow truck, cab, and chassis
Be purchased.
to be purchased.
Any other discussion? Since we've been discussing that. If you're in favor, please raise your hand.
Thank you.
I make a motion that pending the outcome of the June budget meeting, that we allow the contract to sit there with an affirmative if the budget allows it for 2024, 2005 for the contract submitted by Viking Sieves for the plow equipment to go onto a plow truck in the sum of $96,865 be approved based on the budget being approved and allowing it.
That works, right?
That works.
Yeah.
We understand the
Yeah.
intent.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm just making sure. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
14.5. Unspent contingency fund to offset other budgets in need.
So your contingency budget has a sum of $10,000 in it. I'm happy to say, we're 75% linear prorated through this current year's fiscal budget. And the $10,000 still sits there. And so, like this time last year, you folks entertained and voted on a motion to use any and all unspent monies from contingency to offset other budgets if necessary. And assuming you're willing to play again, that's what I'd like for you to make a motion on and vote tonight.
Are there any specific budgets that are in trouble currently? Like that are in your mind? Or just-
no,
so
there's,
just
there's,
just
there's,
that If, 'cause
so,
we brought in more revenue than we were intending, right?
yeah, so right now, on the whole, we are over revenue, over estimates on revenues, and we're under 75% of spending. That's of tonight.
Right.
And there are a couple of those line item budgets which are slightly challenged, but it has more to do with timing than necessarily true overspending. And Lisa, once we get to May, June, she'll give you guys, each month she gives you a report as a part of the packet, breaking it all out. And so I have last Fridays, once a week on Friday, I get an updated weekly report from Lisa, of which I go through and vet in its entirety. And if you want, I can go get that report and give you a better answer than
I
what I'm
just was
giving
wondering
you.
if there was anything.
Yeah, nothing.
We know the police department's in trouble right now. Like, I know you can't really probably say that, but I mean, I was just asking. if you
Actually,
knew
the
of something.
PD budget is under budget.
Well, I was assuming that because they're undermanned, right?
Yeah, but we're also paying overtime, blah, blah, blah. So I mean, everything zigs and zags, right? You know. But this is what you did. It's standard
Right.
operating procedure in this town to use unspent contingency funds to offset any potential. Your charter says you can offset one budget to another budget. Any underspend from one budget can be offset by 10% to an overspent budget that's in your charter. This is me just taking care of housekeeping and setting the table for the end of June.
I have a question, just asking out of ignorance. Did we use the whole contingency fund last year to offset budgets?
I don't recall if we did. And again, this is.
No, I just was wondering.
So in either case, and I think this is important to continually, drum on, in either case, any unspent monies funnel down into the town's as an undesignated fund balance, which is your piggy bank. Regardless, anything that comes in as extra revenue, anything that comes in that's underspent the budget, goes to the piggy bank. It has no place else to go. And that's what happens. This is just a formality. If you voted this down, Lisa and I would just find another zigzag in order to make this work.
Right.
But using contingency money is an easy place. And if we need 5,000 of that next month, then we'll use the remaining 5,000. But if whatever that figure is, if it's the full 10,000 and we need it, we may not even need it. But it's just in case that we need it to be, shine the light on everything. It makes sense to do this.
I'm sensing
Yeah, we're just a thorn in your side, which is our job. I was more looking for information more than being a thorn in your side, just so you know. I know I am a thorn in your side at times, but
I am.
that was not my intent tonight. I just was asking.
Well, the good news is everything's a learning journey, right?
Right.
And regardless if you're sitting out there, if you're sitting up here, or if you're
I just wanna
watching
be
on the
informed.
internet, it's a learning journey. So what I'm quickly going to do right now on a linear basis, we should be at 75%.
Right.
Okay. Legal services, 27%. Boards and councils, 76.8%. Boo.
Paying them too much.
Municipal complex, 72.91. Town clerks, 64.31. Administration, 70.83. Public works, 60.97. Fire, rescue, 51.81. Police department, 71.24, under budget. Animal control, 80.33. Again, we had to pay for the cats, and so you pay, and so it throws it off skew.
Everything's not.
Yeah, right. Trust me. Okay. Code enforcement planning is at 70.36. Library, 62.53. Utilities, 58.92. Assessor, 100.56.
Done.
Auditor, 132.35. Because we budgeted 85 and the final bill was $11,250 because of extra reports that they had to do. There's always curveballs in life, right? Contingency, 0, right? Debt service, 23.54. That's because we didn't have to make the payment on 22, right? And there could be another payment that she hasn't made yet.
You can say.
Pensions insurance, 77.03. Social welfare, that's GA, 48.31. Solid waste, 72.99. County tax, 100%. Capital improvements, we'll call it 100%. And so when it's all said and done, counting everything, we're 2% below the 75%. We're at 73. Now, what I have to do to get you real better numbers is because the capital and the county tax, they're just bills, right? So whatever we pass, we go ahead and reassign to other accounts. So I have to back out those 2 line items. The story gets better once I do that and consider just the true operational budget.
Right.
The true operational budget is currently overall at 65%. So we're 10% below the linear. That right now translates to $278,850. That's on expenses. Now we go to revenues. On revenues, adding all the different line items, we have a figure of 86% minus the 75. We're 11% over currently on revenues. And you do the math on that, that's $166,000. So if the world were to end today and whatnot, so you'd take the 166 and you'd add it to the 278, roughly $450,000. Are we going to end that way? I don't know.
Right.
Stay tuned.
Because I came in and paid my taxes in full.
So for everybody out there, just know that every week we go through this with a fine tooth comb.
And I wasn't questioning that. I just was asking, like, do we need it tomorrow? Because it's something that's already over. That's all I was asking.
Yeah. So did you vote?
We did not. We haven't taken a motion yet. We have not done a motion yet.
Okay.
Well, I move we accept the unspent contingency fund of $10,000 to offset other budgets if so needed.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
Voted unanimous.
I make a motion that we accept the reimbursement for the Oxford PD officer that was originally a Mechanic Falls officer and stolen from us in the tune of
Please strike that part.
$48,816.75. I make a motion, we accept that.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Does that cover our expenses for that officer?
Yes, and through a formula that smarter people than I put in place a long time ago. Just as simply as I can, and I'm not very expert on it, but there's a 5-year plan that all the state policing, it's probably in state statute somewhere, that for this very reason, we got an officer, we trained him up, we put him on the street, he very quickly decided to go someplace else. And so think of it as each year that you have that officer and then that officer goes someplace else, you get reimbursed a smaller amount. But if an officer is here for a very short period of time, you get a higher amount based on their formula of how they do that. And that's for all municipalities. If we
We
Would
post,
you use your word, if we stole an officer from a different force, then we might have to pay, depending upon the circumstance.
And to be honest, no, it doesn't. This is a lovely formulary that has not been updated. And it does not take into modern day wages for overtime that may be required. It doesn't take in the cost of, they're required to have a psychological done, they're required to have a polygraph done, they're required to have a physical done. This is just strictly academy related itself.
And then my next question is this $48,816.75, will that be reverted to the general fund? again?
Well, you'll be happy. You'll be happy. Actually, this time, again, the town has a history of stitching this one.
Good.
This will go to what's on that sheet that I gave you. It will go to the police training line. And yeah, police training, 1503, about close to a halfway down your page, maybe a third way down your page. Currently has 89,000. Remember, it had, well, because
we took
what
some out
you
of it.
voted on tonight is already in the bank account. I'm just,
we had already previously taken some.
Taken
out of
some
it.
out.
right, exactly. And so now that 48,000 is in there
It's-
to
it's
replenish it,
right. So
right?
back to where it was. roughly.
More or less,
So-
right?
And if anybody's interested, I am going to be working on trying to get legislation through next time around to have the legislation modify or redo their formulation, because I've had many conversations with individuals from both my husband's department and with Chief Goss in regards to the cost, and it's way far off of what it should be and the towns need to pay for what they're taking.
I just want to make sure it goes back to the police department.
That's your crabby farmer's opinion, and that's what you got.
You're the vice chair. Did we vote? We moved and seconded. We didn't vote.
Yeah, we
Did
did.
we have
Yes, we
not
did.
voted on this one? Yes, I didn't think so. We did not vote on this. This is discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Sorry, she raised her left hand. That doesn't count. All right,
Let the arm wrestling begin.
here we go.
What is the RSU budget day?
So with the resignation of Tarsha at the last meeting, Tarsha was queued up to do the budget day. And so I don't know if Mary wants to say anything about this, but I think they're going to want representation from this council.
Last month in terms of our revenue and our subsidy reduction. There's really a lot on the plate. So we've got, a representative from Poland Plant also, so it's that Street or 93. And then there's also
What day is the 9 to 3?
April.
They were both Wednesday.
Or just tired? Me too.
What time again?
9 to 3.
And often it won't go. That-
If you guys will allow me, I will go do. Where do I have to?
Elm Street and often they'll have.
I may be a few minutes late, but I will be there.
Need that as a motion?
Do we?
Should.
Okay, we need that as a motion then.
And obviously I can't make my own motion.
The motion that, you accept-
Ray?
Make a motion that we accept Paula Stott as a as a representative from council to attend this budget day on April tenth, from the hours of 9 to 3 on a Wednesday, and for the April 24th meeting, to represent council at that meeting for input on that meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
That's the high school or nothing on? Not sure, okay.
To be determined. To be determined. All right, we have no executive session. Anything else?
School's out for summer until
Adjourn.
I will accept anybody that would like to sign my papers, but if you don't want to, I will not be offended. You already did. You could sign it as Sunny this time, but then I wouldn't have the